everyone, today in this video I'm going to be checking out the eufy L60 Robot Vacuum with self-empty base. Eufy did provide me with this sample, but I want you to know that any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. We will be comparing it to over 70 different robot vacuums, so let the data speak for itself. If you're interested in the L60 or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Take a look at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. They walk you through the key features here. So the hair detangling design and technology that this incorporates, 5,000 pascals of suction, and 60 days of hands-free cleaning with the self-empty base. You can learn more about that on the side. We have some of those features highlighted again on the back. Here's that 5,000 pascal suction power highlighted on the other side. And now we're back to the front of the box. Let's go ahead, let's open this up and see what's inside. Here are all the contents. First up, we have some product literature that gives us a QR code to scan for the manual, app, and support information. Next, you'll see we have the L60 here and the self-empty base in two pieces. Let's go ahead, let's look at these parts and components in more detail. Starting with the top of the vacuum, we got the eufy logo and branding spread throughout, 5,000 PAs on the glossy black finish section. We have our power and home buttons there. You can see the navigational bumper from the bird's eye view. Looking at that bumper from the very front, you'll see our navigational sensors there. Here's a look at the side with some exhaust. On the very back side, this is where it's going to self-empty. All the contents of the dustbin will be removed from there. Charging contacts. We have some additional exhaust there. Let's remove that dustbin. Take a closer look here. We got some filter cleaning instructions and bin emptying instructions at the top. We can go ahead and open that up to get access to the bin and the filter right there. This just opens up to reveal the filter that we can easily pop off. We'll see it. There we go. And there's the second layer of it. So that all just fits right in there, and that can go right back on and in place to easily wash, clean, and replace as needed. See it from all different sides and angles. Little wheel at the bottom. Now we're looking at the bottom, multiple cliff sensors, one side cleaning brush, two spring-loaded drive wheels, and we have our main brush roller right here that we can remove. And that reveals the brush. So you can see the brush up close there, with its bristle and rubber agitator design. Then we can just put this right back in. And the cover snaps right back on. eufy support information there, additional product info, omnidirectional wheel. Very simple and straightforward. Next, let's take a look at the self-emptying station. We have the two pieces here. The first one's going to be the ramp, and it has a couple of steps here to follow to remove and clean the drawer every couple of months when it's full, and that's going to be what's collecting right here from the main brush roller. So look at that. We got the little drawer built in that we can empty from all the hair that will be built up there. This ramp will just snap and clip right on in place. Let's look at the main unit here. From the very top, we can open that up to reveal a multi-purpose cleaning tool. I love the built-in storage like that. And we already have one installed vacuum bag here. So you can see that bag, what it looks like empty, and then we can go ahead and we can drop that bag right back in just like so. We even have instructions up at the top, complete with support QR codes and contact information if you have any questions, but they walk you through bag removal and installation. Now looking at it from the very front, eufy logo and branding, indicator light, charging contacts, remove sticker before use, self-empty channel right there. And then we have some options here on the side with these little arms to help just get everything properly in place with two spinny wheels. And then here's a look again at that drawer that we can remove and clean. Here's a look at the underside. This is the back with our integrated power cord and cable. This is the front with the removable drawer, honeycomb design underneath with 4 large contact grip feet. Here's your left side profile, here's your right side profile, and here's a look at the very back. We have that integrated power cord, and there's no built-in cable management or cord storage. Setup super simple and straightforward. Just go ahead and install the ramp just like what you see right here. Now it's time to plug in the base, charge up our vacuum, and try it out. And here you go. Everything's all together on the base and charged up. Now let's get to cleaning. So we just finished the first clean. Let's take a look at the results. I intercepted it before it could self-empty so we can see real world contents of what it's able to vacuum up. And we can test out the brush cleaning feature here so we can see a before and after. So let's look at that dustbin. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna open it up just like this. And we'll reveal the contents inside. Take a look at that. Filthy, filthy, filthy. I have a dog, so we have tons of pet hair. And there's 3 long-haired humans in my house, so a lot of pet hair and human hair. Take a look at all the heavier crumbs and larger debris at the bottom. Even got a popcorn kernel in there. Really nasty stuff in our dustbin, but pay attention to that filter and that really fine dirt and dust that it's able to collect. Now let's go ahead, let's flip it over. And here's a look at our main brush roller. And again, we have not done the detangling yet, so I can't wait to see that in action with, again, real human hair and pet hair just after one clean. Let's go ahead and try that out now. All right, we have it back on the station. Let's go ahead and initiate that brush detangling and cleaning.
Cutting rolling brush hair.
All right, that took like 2 to 3 minutes. Let's see the results here. All right, so we got some hair coming out the back. Hopefully that's from our brush. We'll also look at the contents inside the dustbin. So let's start there. Sure enough, everything empty there, just that little bit extra. That could have been for me opening and then reshutting it and trapping that where it wasn't originally supposed to be. So that could just be from me. And let's see that bottom brush roller. All right, so take a look at the brush roller right here. We do still have some tangles. Let's go ahead and run it through another time and see if that makes a difference. All right, let's take a look one more time. And here we go. All right, so we still have that big section there. I'm not sure if that really made too much of a difference. Let's pop this tray off and let's look inside here. Just want to show if there's any noticeable debris built up. And we'll go ahead, we'll run it one more time.
Brush hair.
All right, 3rd time's the charm. Let's take a look here and see any noticeable difference. And no, that still looks the same to me. I guess my only critique here is maybe they're too tight and too wound up on there already. Time will tell after more reps and letting this go in its natural environment, but I had higher expectations for it so far to see if it would actually make a pretty substantial difference, and in this case, not really. Now let's talk about the eufy Clean app. Here's a live look at it. We're gonna go into our RoboVac right here and see all the settings that we have. Very detailed map. Bottom right-hand side of the screen towards the corner, we have 3 different control buttons. The first one's to initiate self-empty, the second one's to initiate the brush roller clean, and the third one's to edit our map, where we can set up no-go zones and virtual walls. We can edit our rooms by merging, dividing, or renaming. We can choose a cleaning sequence, and then we can rotate the map. So a lot of customization and features here. We can choose to clean in auto mode, or room-by-room clean, or zone cleaning. We can also adjust the suction settings, 4 different options, and we can toggle on or off boost IQ. We can even customize our preferences depending on the room, so very detailed map and functionality that we get right there. We can also send it back home to charge. We can also view more settings in the top right-hand corner where we can manage multiple maps. You can toggle that on if you have multiple floors that you want to clean. You can edit all of that there. You can set this on a schedule. You can view your cleaning history. So take a look at the history right there. And if anything comes up, they give you the issue and a solution. Really nifty, super helpful. Then further down, we have our base station settings. So we can adjust the frequency of our empty after how many cleans or choose by a particular time. We also have manual controls where we can drive the L60 around. Voice settings, robot settings. This is where we can set up things like do not disturb, auto return cleaning, child lock, things like that. And then everything else is going to be your typical device settings, FAQ section, help, service, firmware. We can also remove the device from our account right there. So a very simple app that has all the features you would want on a vacuum like this equipped with LiDAR, giving us full control. So we're left with the very important question: how does the eufy L60 stack up against the competition? When it comes to the competition, we'll be looking at the averages within eufy's own product lineup from the 6 or 7 samples that we've tested, as well as the overall average from over 70 robot vacuum cleaners that we've tested here at the studio. So first up, max suction power. This is measured in PAs. With this result, usually the higher the better. That's what you want to see here. In this case, you'll notice our L60 is above average from eufy's product lineup, but just slightly below average from your typical robot vac. Our next metric, max CFM, which we score in-house here, actually tells us a different story. You like to see suction power and CFM be on the higher side here, so the higher side, the better usually. In this case, though, our L60 comes in below eufy's average, and it comes in below the typical average. And it's interesting to see that eufy products, on average, and our average typical robot vac overall, have nearly identical CFM scores. So what does your suction power and CFM score actually mean in the real world? Well, that's where our carpet deep clean test comes into play here, so we can see, regardless of spec in a lab somewhere, how it actually performs in the real world. And in this case, it exceeded what the expectations were. So 9 points better than eufy's overall average and 3 points better than the typical average. Next, we have decibels. With this value, the larger the number, the louder the vacuum will be. The lower the value, the quieter the vacuum will be. We always test this vacuuming carpets on max suction power with any sort of carpet boost enabled. You'll notice on average, the typical robot vac comes in at 71 decibels. And in this case, our L60 is going to be about 5 decibels louder than your typical vac, 6 decibels louder than your typical eufy vac. But realistically, in the real world, would you notice any difference? I'd say no. For this vacuum, even though it is technically 6 or 5 decibels louder, you won't notice any difference with this cleaning side by side to any other robot vac. Now let's talk about battery life. This is measured in minutes. The larger this value, the longer your vacuum will run until it needs to go back home and recharge. So, underwhelming metric here. So 120 minutes runtime for the L60. That's 10 minutes below eufy's average and 40 minutes below the typical average robot vac. But the saving grace here is this is smart enough to go back home, recharge, and resume cleaning. So as long as you don't need it done on one pass at one time and you can wait a couple of hours for it to finish cleaning, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if you have a large space that you want to clean all in one pass, that's not going to be this vacuum. You'll have to wait. The reason we don't see great battery life, it's due to the small battery capacity. This is measured in milliamp hours. Technically, in eufy's defense, they do squeeze a lot of juice out of this tiny battery, but that's definitely going to be one of their cost-saving measures. 2,600 milliamp hours compared to your average robot vac battery of 3,900 milliamp hours. And you'll notice eufy kind of straddles the middle there between the L60, the brand overall, and your average at 3,400 milliamp hours. Next, let's talk about height. This is measured in inches. With LiDAR equipped vacuum cleaners, this is well within the range, the typical height that you see, 4.1 inches. That's due to this LiDAR navigation module up at the top of the unit. eufy's brand average is actually lower for the height because they have a lot of very budget-friendly models that don't have advanced navigation. Therefore, they don't need that sensor, so they're going to be a little bit shorter, which means theoretically, depending on your furniture, that might be the difference between getting under and cleaning it versus not. Next, let's talk about dustbin capacity. This is measured in milliliters. First thing I want to point out is typically you find lower capacity dustbin sizes on self-emptying units like this, and that holds true in the L60's case. 350 milliliters, more than enough for the dustbin size with a self-empty vacuum. You'll notice that's 64 milliliters below eufy's average and 70 milliliters below the typical average. But again, that's a mix and match of vacuums that don't have self-empty, where you tend to see those larger dustbins because that prevents you from having to empty it as often. But in this case, that doesn't matter. You're not doing it, your vacuum is. And we gotta highlight the feature that makes the L60 unique on the market today. That's its hair detangling technology. I haven't seen it built into the base before. Really cool concept here. I've seen it built into the brush rollers themselves, themselves, or a unique brush that might even have some blades in it, like the tri-cut brush from Dreamy, but not one that actually has the mechanism into the bottom of the base. Really cool that we have this feature. In my experience though, I just haven't seen it perform very well. It's definitely been a letdown, so not sure why. In our case, we are seeing that when other reviewers seem to speak so highly of it, but again, we're just testing it in the real world with 3 hairy humans in our house and a hairy dog. I was expecting more, but at least they're trying. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about cost. In regards to the L60, this will help us get a better feel for the performance that we just looked at. All those metrics and features will help us get a better feel for the value. So I would say overall it performed near the average, but you'll notice this costs hundreds of dollars less than your average robot vacuum cleaner. Even within eufy's lineup, it's about 50 bucks, give or take here or there, less than your typical eufy vac, but we're not compromising on navigation. We still have LiDAR, we have a self-empty base, and they even gave us that unique hair detangling technology. Pretty solid value. So where's that leave us in regards to the eufy L60? Let me share with you some final thoughts and key takeaways. First, some of the good. LiDAR navigation, check. Self-empty base, check. And this particular self-empty base is on the smaller size in regards to its footprint. Still has a very large capacity for the dust bag there. So I like seeing that. Definitely a positive in my opinion. What would need to be improved with the L60 in the future? The first one's going to be the battery life for you larger square foot home people out there. Somebody that wants to have everything done in one pass. You might be limited by the battery on this vacuum. And secondly, I had higher expectations for the brush cutter. Can't really think it's user error at this point. We've run this multiple times and it still has the same hair and debris on it from the beginning. The good news is it doesn't really seem like it's expanding, if that makes sense. So that is a positive there. At least it's going to hopefully continue to maintain it. It's not going to get as dirty or as tangled as quickly as your other typical brush RoboVacs with this same style, but it's not the end all be all that I was really hoping it would be.